Hello there, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to today's stream. Let me get my camera on. There we are. Let me go ahead and lower the volume on that. That was very loud. Too much Void Collector. It's all happening at once, yes. Okay. Let me refresh, because my stream preview has frozen. That's not good. There we go. Okay. Alright, so... today, we're going to be working on a brand new enemy, and I think he will be a very fun one to work on. Let me queue up the music playlist, and then we can get going on that. Okay. So I've got a lot of new stuff to showcase and to discuss. So one of the big things is the changes in mechanics, and I'll go into the reasoning in a bit more detail in the video that I just put out. But the gist of it is that the juice system is now gone, so weapons are free to use, and then certain special weapons will instead use your combo count to deal damage. So it works a bit differently this time around. We also have cannonballs, so you can shoot those. And those are funny. The gimme is not a grappling hook anymore, or like the quasi-hook. Instead, you can use it to pick up and throw things. So that's pretty fun. Look at that. It's pretty cool. We got slope physics, so you can go up ramps. That's cool. Funny cowboy or funny pirate guy. He was actually supposed to be kind of a pirate, but then the hat looked like a cowboy hat, and I thought it was kind of funny, so we ran with it. Yeah, that was the gist there. Oh, just realized the stream starting soon thing is still hanging around. Yeah, don't worry, Ozzy, I caught that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with coding our new enemy. Let's get rid of the puddle and the water bottle prop for now, so we have a little more space to work with. Okay, so first thing we're going to want to do is go to the enemies section, and we have a new thing called an enemy base, which has a lot of the fundamental code that each enemy is going to rely upon. So what we'll do is create a child blueprint class, and call that BP Blunder, that's the name of the guy, and we'll put it down. So right now, it just looks like a flint enemy. It's got a lot of the same DNA, essentially, which is pretty simple. So what we're going to want to do is go into Blunder and set up some of the same code that we did for Flint, where we want to update some certain variables, so that way he has like different health values, different attack delay values, that sort of thing. And then we're going to want to write some custom code that dictates how our Blunder fella will attack. So I believe right now he should just do, basic projectile shot, nothing too crazy. And I think the first thing we should do to make sure that this actually looks like the enemy that we're fighting is to go to the textures folder and then set up some proper animations. So I've already made all the animations myself, but let's go ahead and create sprites, and then we're going to turn those sprites into flipbooks, which are just sequences of sprites that it flips through to create animation. So we've got our idle, set that to about 7 frames per second, so we get that nice wobble effect that we're looking for. Let's create one for the death animation, where he just crumbles away. We'll set that one probably also to about 7. We're going to set the bowl animation, which I'm excited to show you guys the context in which this animation plays. Probably about 10 FPS for that one, but we can change that later if we need to. New flipbook for his attack animation. And we're going to need this to last a little bit longer, so we'll preemptively duplicate some of the frames. That way it hangs on this after effect shot a little bit longer. We're going to create a flipbook for damage, but this one's just a single frame, so we don't really need to worry about that one too much. And ready. There we go. So now we've got all of our corresponding flipbook setup, so we can animate him properly. Now, I've learned a new system that makes a lot of the animation work a lot easier, and that is to use a plugin called PaperZD. And what it essentially lets me do is create something like this. Now, this might look a little complicated, but what this is a essentially a graph that will control the flow of how Flipbook operates. And this will make animating things a lot easier, and we can keep the code for the animation and the code for the function different, which I think will make things a lot more consistent. The little falling animation, flapping around. Yeah, I felt like adding in some sort of falling animation would be good, especially considering that enemies now have... there's a greater function on hitting enemies while they're falling, so I think that ends up being a pretty important change to make. Okay, so now that we've got the basic animation set up, the first step to get the animations working properly is to go to PaperZD and set up an animation source. So we're going to call it AS Blender. And this is just going to be adding in all of the animations that we're going to need to be able to play at any given time. So we'll start out with idle, and that'll be using the Blender idle flipbook. There we go. Then we're going to set a new flipbook, new animation for ready, and shoot, damage, die, and bolt. Okay, so now we're going to go through each of these and set up the corresponding animations, so that way we can, actually see what he's doing. Oh, I think it's attack. Yeah, Blender attack. There we go. Die, Blender die, damage, Blender damage, and bowl. I think actually the Blender bowl one, that one should be going backwards, because the idea is that you'll hit him in a certain state, and then it'll cause him to start rolling around. Can I set it to, like, negative frame rate? No. Okay. Well, real quick, what we're going to have to do is invert all of our frames, so that way it plays the animation in the proper sequence. There we go. Now it's going backwards. Okay, so now we've got our basic animation set up, and what we can do now is set up a new animation blueprint using Blender as our source, and we're going to call that animation blueprint Blender. So what we can do is go in here, then go to our animation graph and create something called a state machine. So what this is that it is a function that will control the way that Blender goes from animation to animation. So, showing the Flint one as an example, he starts out by going to idle, and then he switches to his ready to attack stage, and then he goes to his attack phase, and then back to idle. But these can be interrupted by going to the damage phase, or in Flint's case, shooting at his mine attack. So we're going to start by setting up a pretty similar system. We're going to create a new state, call it idle. Going to create a new state called ready. A new state called attack. Create a new one for, attack, yeah, for damage. I believe I did it, how did I get it to, now I remember, we'll get to that later. Yeah, I don't have a falling animation, which I probably need to draw up and incorporate that as well, actually. I didn't think there could be animation charts. Yeah, that's usually used for 3D animation, but this plugin adds it for 2D animation, which makes things a lot more convenient. Number 2, love your enemy design, they're so goofy. Thank you. Why are B's hands white now? That is actually tying into a new feature. They're not going to be white forever, but one of the things is that by getting good ranks, you can you can unlock new hand colors, so you can switch things around if you want to. Game name, would love to see it. That is Void Collector, What Lies Below. Let's see. Long time ago you were streaming and I wrote a message about how disappointed I am that it takes me so long to finish my game. The demo is out and I'm currently working on the full release. Hey, good job, man. Congrats. Getting that demo out is a pretty important first step. What's the name? Oh, Ayan. I'll have to take a note to check that out. The hands also look squished. They might be a little squished. The resolution's a little weird. What's your personal favorite submission in the art contest? Ooh, that is hard, because there are a lot of good ones. I'd have to think on that. I would have to think on that. Okay, so setting up our animation chart, we'll go from idle to ready to attack, and then back to idle. So this will be just our first step. So let's get play animation, or play idle. So if this state is called, it'll play the idle animation. If this animation is called, it'll play the ready animation. And if this one's called, it'll play the attack. Shoot. Shoot. Okay, so now what we need to do is figure out how to interpolate from each of these different animations. And the way we're going to do that is by going to the event graph and then setting up some variables. So what we're going to do is cast to BP Blunder, and we're going to get some variables from here that we're going to need to call later. So if we get owner, then that should work. Doesn't? What did I do here? Get owning actor. That's what I'm looking for. Get owning actor. There we go. And then promote that to a variable, so that way we can access this whenever we want. And what this does is it lets us get any of the variables we need from our main Blunder guy, and then we can then convert that into the animation. Okay, so the variables we're getting for Flint here are state, dead, airborne, and which attack that he is doing. We're only going to need state and dead, I believe. So what we're going to do is get state and get dead. We're going to make two new variables. Actually, we can just promote the variable. That'll be slightly easier. There we go. So what we're going to do here is be constantly checking to see what the enemy is currently doing, if they're what state they're in, and if they're dead or not. And the state is just a number that we use to control what they're doing. So it starts out at 5 for idle, then switches to 4 for ready, then 3 for attack, and then it's 2 for, I believe it's 2 for airborne, 1 for damage, and then 0 for dead. And the way that we switch between those is all of this nonsense, so I'm not going to go into that in... Get off the cord. Get off of... I'm not going to go off on a long tirade about how that whole system works, but that took basically a week to get all that figured out. It was a bit tedious, to be honest. Okay, so how we're going to decide to go from idle to ready is if the enemy state is, I believe, 4. And the great thing about having done all this already is that I can just go back, look at that, I can just check my own work. So if enemy state equals 3, so if the enemy state is the ready to attack state, then we can transition from the idle pose to the ready to attack pose. And then the same function here. So if we are in the ready to attack pose, and then all of a sudden we're in the attack variable, the attack variable is true, then we can shift back to here. And, oop, why did I back out? And then if enemy state equals 4, then we can return back to idle. Gonna double check that it's how it works, yes? Sometimes it's hard to tell which one applies to which. Okay, there we go, this one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so if we go back to Blunder here, and change this out to Blunder idle. And actually, you know what, while we're at it, let's go ahead and make him a little larger. And then make the capsule around him a bit bigger as well, since he's a rather spherical fella. Wouldn't be right to give him a small hitbox. Are you wearing a Cuphead shirt? Yes, yes I am. Okay, so now what we're going to do is set up an animation blueprint. Oh, I was selecting the wrong thing. Go to animation. What? Hold on, why am I forgetting how to do this? And I do it for Flint. Oh, that's right, that's right. So what we're gonna do is add a new component, which is a paper ZD animation component. There we go. And then we're gonna set up Blunder as the animation instance class. So what that means is that basically he'll be checking for this whole sequence for whenever he decides to go through his animations. So let's pull him up out of the floor there. And there we go. You can see that he now switches through his attacks properly. Now, he's not going back to idle, and I think that might be because his idle delay is not quite the correct length. So he's just constantly switching from attack ready to attack without the proper intervals here. Yeah, so we can get that corrected a little bit later. But he's cycling through. Works pretty clean. I just realized now that the background of your profile picture says SN. It is not, yeah, that's my name. Me. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is have the ability to transition to the damage animation. Okay, so what this will be is relatively simple, showing the Flint example. So if at any point that in these states we detect that the player is, or that the enemy is in state 1, which is the state they're in when they take damage, then we transition to the damage animation. Very simple indeed. So play damage. Go. Put the same bit of code in all of these, and we're good to go. Now we're also going to need to add a link from damage to idle, and if that variable ever goes to 4, then we want to transition from damage to idle. So we can do that. He goes to the damage animation, and it transitions all smoothly as it should. Pretty clean, pretty simple. So there's one more system we're going to need for our bare fundamental animation system, and that's going to be going back here and setting this up. So if we go to the very beginning of our state machine, we're going to want to add a switch animation on, or is it bool? Let's just look at select animation by bool. There we go. Select animation by bool. And we'll run our state machine, which is just the whole process of animation that we were just going through. And that will play normally if the enemy is not dead. But if the enemy is dead, then we will play the then we'll play the death animation. So we just do a good chunk of damage here. And there we go. The death animation plays seamlessly. Okay, so that is about it for the bare bones basic animation work. So what I think we'll do now is move on to the functionality of this fella. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is give this guy a bit more of a shotgun spread. Actually, let's see if we want to adjust the arrow. Now that looks about right location-wise. Okay, so we're going to take this one, spread it out a little bit. Actually, let's duplicate that twice first, then add some spread to it. There we go. Let's give that a try. And then what we'll do is do a sequence node here. So what we'll do is send out an attack on all 3 of those arrows. So we'll replace this one with arrow 2, and what this is code to just determine the angle that we need to launch our projectile component at. So by plugging in the arrow code there, what that'll do is just run through and then see where the arrow is located, check its rotations, that way we can send out everything at the proper orientation and angles. Are there 3D projectiles? There are. One of the 3D projectiles that I think looks really cool is the cannonball. So instead of like a 2D explosion, it's like an actual 3D space thing, which I think is pretty sweet. Is this guy Jimmy Double 2? Yeah, sorta. Visible health bar, yes. We got a lot of good changes here. Where'd you learn to code? A lot of experimentation. I never really, like, was taught to code. I just kind of did it. And did it a lot. Okay, do you shotgun blast? That's not quite right. Why is that happening? Let's see. Let me set these arrows. Let me turn off hidden in-game on all of these, which will let us see them during runtime. Oh, these arrows are just pointed the wrong way. Why are they pointing away from the player? They should all be linked into the same thing, right? It's maybe the thing with the enemy base. Because it's... Oh, yeah, because it's setting the world rotation. Yeah, okay. I see the issue we're having here. Okay, what we can do here is on tick, at least tick for now. What we can do is set a similar rotation offset for the arrows. No, we're gonna have to come up with a slightly smarter solution for this. How do we want to do this? How do we want to do this? You know what we could do, actually? Because I'm probably gonna have other shotgun spread type enemies. What we could do is get rid of the arrows on this guy, and then add in the arrows to the enemy base, and then we can delete them from any enemies that don't take advantage of them. Because the idea is that this enemy should have everything that we could want for, like, a basic type of enemy. So if we have this as an option, then that would be relatively simple. Okay, so we plug all three of these guys in to there, and then hidden in-game, turn that off, turn that off, turn that off, there we go. Okay, then we go back to Blunder, and then for these sections we can get the now inbuilt arrow 2 and arrow 3. Okay, well now the problem is that they're too clustered. They're too cluttered up. What if we give them a little more distance from each other? Nope. That's really odd. I guess because I'm setting the rotation all the same way, huh? That'd probably make sense, wouldn't it? Okay. They shouldn't be married to the flipbook. What if we just don't update the arrow rotation? What happens there? Okay, so we definitely would want to update the arrow rotation. Got it. Yep. You're a strange fella. I think I might have to actually overhaul how the system works a little bit. But that's probably going to be kind of tedious, so I think we'll do that on another stream, perhaps. Not today's, is what I'm saying. Okay, so back to it. We'll fix his arrows and shooting locations and whatnot later. But what I want to do is set up an interesting little function for when he takes damage while he's getting ready to attack. So, I believe we give us a custom function for it? No, we do not. Okay, so what we're gonna do is make a custom event that anything that is a child of this blueprint can call, and we're gonna call it unique damage. And what we'll do is we will call unique damage whenever the enemy takes damage. Let's grab unique damage, and we'll just plug that in right here. There we go. And then what we can do is go to Blunder, and then set up the unique damage event right here. So what we can do is grab a print string, and we can say, ouch. And then what we should see is that whenever he takes damage, yeah, the unique damage effect text plays up there in the top left. Alright, so now what we can do is set up the function that we want to get going. So, How this guy works right now is pretty simple. He's just kind of a basic shotgun enemy. But what I want to do to really make this guy stand out from similar enemies is that if you attack him while he is in his ready-to-attack animation, then it will cause him to start rolling backwards at high speeds and bowl through anything that he hits. So that is what we are going to try to get going. Now, that is kind of a weird thing to try to get functional. So let's see if we can figure it out. Simply too cool for working projectiles. No coder, but how about the arrows always face the player with some offset? That would be the easiest way to do it, but I'm trying to think of a solution that would work for every other enemy that comes after him as well. So it's not just specific to him, you know? Well, I guess the offset wouldn't be that bad. It would just kind of be visually cluttered. Why is he stuck in the ground? Alright, here, we'll get him out. There we go. Now he's standing on it. Like a good fella, like a lad. Oop, I just whiffed that entirely. I was trying to get a cool shotgun blast. Bop. Okay. So what we're gonna want to do here is set up a new variable, and I'm gonna call it bowling. So if you take damage, or if he takes damage, and get enemy state. That sounds kind of loud to me. Zoop. Okay. So if the enemy is in the ready-to-attack state while they take damage, then we will trigger the bowling sequence. So we'll set bowling to true. And what I'm thinking we want to do here is that he'll start rolling backwards for a couple of seconds and smash through anything he hits, and then certain sequences would cause him to extend the bowl time. So let's set up a bowl timer. Make you a float. Yeah, float will work. And then, what's going to be the most efficient way to just sort of make him slide backwards? I guess what we could do here is... Yeah, okay, here's something we can do. We can get the character movement. We set friction. Set his ground friction to 0. And then launch him backwards. Yeah, so let's just say he has, say, a launch velocity of like 5,000. I think he has kind of high gravity, so I don't know how much that'll do. Maybe blunder up here so I'm not clicking on the wrong thing all the time. Slide. And this text will now show up in the top left when that function is called. Okay, it's not getting called. Which is weird because it should be that he's taking damage while his state is 3. Oh, I just realized what the problem is. Okay. Well, because this is never going to be true, because the enemy state is constantly getting set to... yeah, because he's taking damage, so it sets his state to 1. So what we need to do is grab the unique damage function and do that before the state update. So what we need to do is swap these two, positionally. Yeah, because what it was doing is it was setting his state to 1, and then checking to see if his state was 3. So it would never be true. It would always be set to 1, and it could never be 3. Okay. Whoa. Okay, maybe a little fast, and also it doesn't have any code to determine the correct direction. But I think you're seeing the vision here. Yeah, the vision's coming together here. Yeah, okay, this is gonna work, Okay. Alright, let's go to the weapons real quick, so we can yoink some code to launch them in the correct direction. We go to weapon, grab the double barrel weapon code, And where is the launch character code? There it is. Bam. Okay, so now what we'll do is launch the enemy, backwards from the direction that they took damage from. So now, we send him bowling away. Maybe a little bit extra speed, and then no Z. We want him to just go straight back like a bowling ball. Set it to 3,500 by 3,500. I've got an idea. I want to see what this does. It doesn't go up the slope. Oh no, he does. Okay, he kind of falls off of it. We might have to give him some slope physics. That'd be pretty fun. But yeah, he works pretty functionally there. One idea that I had for like a level that I think could be really, or like a section of a level that could be really fun is, oh, where'd the landmine go? Why'd that fall through? Okay. Is that you do this. Yeah, like you could send him bowling back into a landmine, and then maybe he'd have enough help to like tank the landmine, and then he could like keep rolling and then smash through stuff on the other way. Will there be variants of all the main enemies from the base game? Not necessarily, but some of them definitely will. I just wouldn't say all. Okay, so now we've got the bowling function. Let's make it so that way his visuals reflect that he's supposed to be bowling. So we're going to go back to here, back to the animation blueprint, and we're going to set up a new variable called bowling. And we're going to get bowling, and then set bowling to whatever the value of that is. And then what we'll do here is do another select animation by bool sequence. And if bowling is true, then we will play bowl. Yay, look at that. Oh, that's so good. That's so, I mean, he shouldn't be able to attack while doing that. And he needs to be able to stop bowling, but that is excellent. Good soup. Thank you for the commentary. It's so good. I'm so happy with that. That's perfect. It is just as stupid as I was hoping it would look. Okay, so now what we need to do is set a timer that will eventually free him from being bowled. Let's set timer by event. Yeah, so what we'll do here is set this timer. So when the event damage is started, it'll set this event. Or no, I got that the wrong way around. Yeah, we do this, and then custom event, call this bowling. There we go. And what that'll do is every 0.1 seconds, it'll check to see if we should still be bowling. We'll also set the bowling timer to, let's say 3 for now. We can adjust a lot of this as we need to. Yeah. I think he's also slowing down. I would like him to keep going perpetually, so we might have to adjust the character movement component as well. Okay, so we're going to grab our bowl timer, and if it is greater, it's a greater equal actually, greater than or equal to 0, then the bowling shall continue. You're all around bowling. Will you ever get a hair reveal? You always have a hat on? Well, maybe on a day when I have a good hair style going on. I got a really nice haircut not too long ago, but it was looking messy today, so the hat's an easy way to make it seem like you know what you're doing. Okay, so if bowl timer is greater than 0, then we will set bowl timer to bowl timer minus, say, 0.3. Just kind of picking some values arbitrarily, and we'll adjust as we go along. And then we'll add a print string for this. Okay, that actually seems like that lasts a pretty good amount of time. And if that is false, then we will set bowling to false, and we will clear and invalidate timer by handle. Okay, maybe move the landmine out of the way. It's kind of messing things up a little here. that looked so good. What? Like he even was facing the right way, and then he pop. that was perfect. That was awesome. It's just stupid. Maybe we'll add a little transitional animation between the two. But I think for now that works pretty good. Okay. Great. So now he is bowling. He is bowling away. Now how do we make it so that way he more consistently slides? Might be breaking friction factor. No, he's still slowed down a bit there. Let's pull him forwards, like here, and then so we can have a little more space to see where the issues are cropping up. Yeah, so he still comes to a stop. Let's see, braking deceleration, gravity, fly speed, rotation rate. I'm gonna assume it should be something like, friction. Yeah, ground friction is being set to 8 by default, which is good. That's what we want. But then the idea is that it gets set back to being really low. Because ideally he would just slide in perpetuity. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could just add more strength to him like that. More strength to the launch. Okay. I mean, I guess that kind of works for now. Let's also change some of his variables a little bit. Let's give him 50 health and 50 max health. And then give him a longer idle and attack delay since he's got a wider spread on his attacks. So he should be attacking slower. Oh. I accidentally bumped into my level start code thingy. Let's get you out of here. Oh, that looks so good, the way he what is it, Bakugan? Is that what I'm thinking? He, unmorphed from the ball. That's so good, I love this guy. This guy's awesome. Especially when we get his actual functionality in place, it's gonna be great. Oh yeah, so what we need to do, actually, is when he stops bowling, we also need to set his ground friction back to 8, so he has the correct physics once again. Alright, so one thing I want to do real quick is go to props, and make a new blueprint class. Make it an actor, and we'll call it a BP Blunder Wall. So we'll set up a cube, just a cube first, and a box collision. We'll start by just making a wall. Yeah, there we go. There's our blunder wall. And we'll say, we have it's called, cannibal damaged, which is, we'll just please use this as a placeholder for now. What we'll do is also stretch out the collision box a little bit, and what this will be doing is it'll be looking out for if it collides with a blunder, and then if it does, it'll shatter. We'll also add a sprite. We'll just grab a blunder. Spray. Oh, it's long. Oh, it's so long. Just scale it to 111. Rotate you a little bit. And actually do -90. Shows my playlist is doing that thing it loves to do where it loops. Yep. Alright, let me refresh it. Nope. Give me Jeans Rockabye from God Hand. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay. So we shrink this down here. Put that on the wall. Give you no collision. And then what we're going to do is on the collision box, we're going to, on component begin overlap, cast to BP blunder. Actually, we can do this more efficiently, code-wise. We can equal BP blunder. That just saves us some resources, because it doesn't have to reach out and talk to the specific thing it's hitting. We just need to check to see if it is of a certain type. Don't worry about it. It's more efficient, code-wise, system-wise. I have two variables in my code called true and false, which are set to their opposites. Reference at the entire code. How does Blunder just instantly transform into a bowling ball? Funny. Long as hell, they must have put him in the pasta maker. He was looking very, very pasta-esque. Okay. So if it does interact with a blunder, we'll just destroy the actor. Nothing too crazy nor complicated. Oh. There we go. Oh, you can kind of see through him. That's weird. Set the sprite material. We need to change that so that way it doesn't look quite as weird. To masked lit sprite material. And now it's affected by lighting. Oh. Okay. That didn't work. Not blunder. So is it that it's recognizing the collision, or is it not recognizing the collision? No, it said not blunder, so it didn't recognize him as blunder. What if we just cast a BP blunder? Does that work? Then if cast failed, then not blunder. So if I bump into it, it should say not blunder. Oh, there we go. Okay, that works. Alright, well, it's not quite as efficient, but it does function. We'll have to put some animation on that. Although actually we might need to cast, because what I'm thinking this would do is that if he breaks through a wall, it would extend the amount of time he has in the bowling state. So if we add, if we set bowl timer, then we're going to get bowl timer, then add 3. Actually, let's clamp that so it doesn't get too high and say, like, 12. So he can't go through so many walls that he just bowls forever. So what this should do... okay, I'm seeing the problem here, though, is that I think he still hit the, he still hit the wall, which caused him to slow down. What if we just extend the hitbox a bit? Yeah, that works. It should also probably give him a slight speed boost. Yeah, I think that would probably be good. How do we want to do that, though? Maybe it's... I mean, I guess it wouldn't be a problem if we figure out how to fix the friction issue, so maybe we go back to doing that, as to why he's not sliding for forever. Yeah, I'm looking at you, buddy. Let's real quick, Unreal, give something no friction so it slides forever. See if the Unreal forums, the damping? Okay, we'll try looking up damping on this. Damping? Nope, that's not a thing. You lied to me, Unreal forums. I was told a mistruth by the internet. I can't believe it. Let's see. Breaking dis- maybe because it counts as walking? I mean, that's what it is. So if we set the braking deceleration to nothing. Oh, yeah, that did it. That did it. Yep, that did it. That did it. Okay, well now the problem is that he's gonna slide forever. So we need to set the braking deceleration walking to, I think it's about 2,000. Just Oh, now I opened Visual Studio. No, not again. I hate Visual Studio. Okay, we do gotta make him so that he doesn't keep attacking over and over while he's doing that. We can just do this. Sir, are you okay? Oh. Oh, he's okay! Guys, he's okay, he's back! Yeah, what we're gonna need to do is set enemy state to 4. Actually, no, we should run the update state update code. Yeah. So there was some complications I ran into where it would, like, kind of set the certain states wrong. So I have this code which will only set the state correctly if there's, like, certain other things that are true. Don't worry about it. It sorts out a lot of potential jank problems. Although that didn't work. You're still a sphere. Is it not setting his bowling timer to false? Not bowling. Okay, so we see the timer tick down, and he's not bowling anymore, but he's still a sphere. He's still a ball. He's still a ball man. Which is weird because it's setting all of his variables back to normal, but he's still functioning like a bowling ball. Oh. Wait, no. Yeah, no, I had that right. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this, friend man? Why are you not functioning as you should? Because bowling should be set to not true. But he's sticking in the bowling animation. I think maybe what's happening is that none of these are getting played because it still thinks it's in the bowling state, perhaps? That might be it. How interesting. How curious. Blender makes me think of Blender. Kind of blendery. Idea for level themes? I will save those for another time. Got a lot of them, but they're not ready. I want to save that, you know? There's actual lighting. Yeah, I'm experimenting with lighting. Proper lighting, and not just everything being not shaded. Because I want to have some vague horror theming to this DLC. Not straight up horror, but horror theming. And the lighting will work for that. I started streaming perfectly when I was on the border between my country and another that didn't have internet. Sorry about that, Oro. Did not mean to time that like that. We've uploading the rest of the Void Collector OST on YouTube. Probably not, just because those uploads did not do well, and I think it kind of hurt the channel to have videos that like got such low viewership. Maybe like a second channel or something, because I think it'd be nice to have them up, but I also don't want to. I don't want to screw with my channel by having that, right? Let's get rid of this brick wall. Don't really need that for now. Okay, so back to bug fixing poor old Blunder here. Yeah, so it's hitting the not bowling variable, but it seems like he still has all of, like, none of this is actually updating. Maybe because it cleared and invalidates the timer too quickly, perhaps? Like, maybe if we just shift it so that way it resets the timer after all this is called? Will that do it? Be nice if it was that simple. No. Okay, that did not fix it. He's still just a red sphere. Very slippery, this... Oh, no. Go away, Visual Studio. I don't wanna open you right now, man. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Why did it open 3 times? It's the most annoying thing about Unreal is that when it just decides, hey, you clicked on something twice. That means you want to open Microsoft Visual Studio to go in there and edit some C++. Okay, so it's setting this properly, but for some reason it's not doing anything else properly. Set state, or set enemy state. What if we do it without the caveat of the event updater thing? Nope, he's still just a ball. Let's get rid of the breakable wall for now, because all that's doing is just making him go bowling for longer. This worked before. I don't know why it stopped working all of a sudden. Okay, let's do a print string here, and we'll set the enemy state to be the thing that we see. So if we go here, hook that up like that, we should be seeing in the top left is constantly telling us what state he's in. Okay, so the problem is that he's already in state 4. That's the issue. Because he's constantly being in state 4, which means that if I set it to 4, it can't update the state and then transition over to the next animation. I think that's what's going on here. Maybe we set it to 3, so that way he's always ready to attack after bowling. Yeah, okay. I think that kind of works better, actually. Although we still need to fix his friction. So that way he's not slipping and sliding quite so much after he's already been de-bowled. Might be going insane, but Blunder's main color is different from Bouncer's. Blunder is more orange and more desaturated. No, they actually are the same color. I think it's just the lighting and post-processing is different, so it looks different. Oh, he shouldn't be bowling midair. I need to fix it. That looks really strange. He also needs a falling animation. There's a couple things we gotta do to get this guy up and going properly. Actually, one thing I want to show you guys. Completely, entirely unrelated to what I'm doing right now. But I think it's cool, and I want to show it. Hold on. Yeah. Oop, no, didn't mean to open the console. I figured out how to use, level streaming properly. So, what that means is that you can load in certain parts of levels and deload other parts of levels. And one, good thing, because that lets me make larger stages, because I can just load and deload certain parts without having to worry about impacting performance. But it also lets me do stuff like this. So, look at the world. It seems all normal-like. Pass through this little corridor. Ooh, where'd this come from? And now there's another light. Now there's 2 shadows on everything. Ooh, spooky. And then we go back through here. Look at that. It's gone. How spooky. I will definitely not be using that for a level later. Don't you worry. It's definitely... I don't have any diabolical schemes lined up my sleeves for that. So I was insane? Yes, you were. I'm sorry to be the one to have to break the news, but you're in fact losing your gourd. Okay, well, the base functions of Blunder is all working pretty well. I think what we might need to do, though, is set the... what was it, walking deceleration? Yeah, I think that was actually 100. I think I was looking at the wrong thing. Nope, that was wrong. That's definitely not. That definitely didn't. That definitely did not do it. Let's say like 4,000. Actually, what am I doing? I just go check to see what whatever I did with Flint. Okay, they had 2,048. So surely 2,000 has got to be more than. Yeah, there we go. Now he stops. I think that works for him because it makes him stop on a dime. Well, makes him stop on a dime if he's not actively going off of a ledge, anyways. Two-step shading, cell shading, or I guess with the two shadows, it's I don't know what you call that. Yeah, I guess it's I think it's just called having two lights. Okay, so how are we gonna get these two to work properly? We could just attach these to the first arrow and then only update arrow 1, maybe. Oh, I just launched completely into something else without explaining what I'm doing here. Okay, so a little bug we were having with this guy is that the arrows would keep pointing the wrong way. So what we're doing now is gonna try to fix that. Oh, you know what? Look at that. Look at that. I'm the smartest guy on planet Earth. I fixed it in 2 seconds. I thought that was gonna be a problem, and it wasn't. Gotcha. See ya, idiot. See ya, jackass. This is one problem I'm having with now that I've added slopes and stuff. I just keep like trying to like do cool like slope tricks. And one other change now is that if you hold down the ground pound button on top of slopes, it just starts sending you downwards really fast because it essentially disables your ability to walk on slopes. And then considering you have such high gravity, it just sends you straight down. So you can do is hold down shift to charge up and then do like that. So you get like some cool big speed boosts. Or also just hold up a shift and then release it on a slope. So you can get big launches. That's going to be a feature that I definitely want to explore in the future. But I think that's about it for Blunder. He was pretty simple to get going. I was kind of expecting it to be a little bit more difficult. Although I guess we could do some other functions with him. Like one of the things I was talking about was landmine. Is making him hit a landmine. And then have a proper bounce to him. Oh. Yeah, so I think what we could do is maybe also decrease his gravity while he's bowling. So that way he can, like, go flying better. Set gravity scale. Normally it's set to 8, or not 8, it's set to 1. 2? 2. No, it's set to 2. But I think what we want to try is set it to, let's say 1. Just give him a good old double gravity, or half gravity. Yeah, there we go. Although I think what we should also have is, yeah, when he takes damage, if he is already bowling, then we're going to want to add 3 to the bowling timer. That way you could sort of perpetually keep bowling him along. So we'll grab bowl timer, add 3, plug that in here, and there we go. So now what should happen is we hit him, bowl, then yeah, he goes flying properly. I guess one problem is walls, because he does kind of just weirdly slide against walls, and I'm thinking that if he hits a wall, maybe I'll even make a custom animation for it, but I think if he hits a wall, he should take a little damage and then do like a splat animation. Problem is I don't really know how to make it check for if he collides with the wall or not. Yeah, because this just kind of feels weird. That doesn't feel super intuitive. Sorry, I was checking something. Let's see. Yeah, I feel pretty good about how that went. That was pretty quick and easy. But that also seems like a little short for a stream. So maybe we could adjust the projectiles, because these guys do have the problem that certain Void Collector projectiles had, where they like to go through walls. So I need to fix that again. Let's see. I feel like I had something. Oh yeah. I've got a pause menu. So originally you had to pause and it would just pull up straight up, like pull up the options menu. But now we've got like a little transitional thing between the two. So that's pretty cool. So that's fancy. That's snazzy. What else? What else is there? Oh, one thing we can do, actually. I've been meaning to do it, but I've just been forgetting about it. Is to have a proper death sequence for overlapping the box, because it doesn't actually do damage. So we'll just do a simple applied damage, and we'll do a billion damage. So he goes in, and he dies. Perfect. Alright, I don't know why I was delaying on that one for so long, as it was pretty quick. I mean, I might have to do a division, so that way it doesn't, like, instantly just murder the player. But I'm thinking I'm gonna change up a bit how the death plane works this time around, so I will hold off on that until I've fully decided on what direction I want to take with that. Okay, so we've got our projectile here, and what we're gonna want to do, I think, is do an on-component hit, perhaps? Yeah, on-component hit. Let's just go destroy actor, if it hits a component. So let's see if that does, in fact, destroy it upon hitting walls. Should adjust so we get the right angle here. Oh. Did that go through a wall? I cannot tell if that went through a wall. If that just passed between the space between some of the walls. It doesn't look like it's destroying anything. You know, let's just set him closer to a wall instead of trying to jankily tell from a distance. That might be a little bit more of an intelligent way to go about testing this. Okay, well, it sure does look like those are going through walls. How did I even fix this beforehand? I do not remember. I remember it being really convoluted to figure out and really annoying. Murky looking swampy water. Well, I'll give you a little sneak peek as to what I'm thinking. But this game will take place on in like this old coastal town, and it's not necessarily a great place to stay, but it will have a very murky, spooky atmosphere. Very oceanic game, in case you can't tell by all the water and shit in the name. What if we... Okay. Idea, concept. It's forming in my brain. We're gonna add a new sphere. New sphere collision. And we're gonna make this one a bit larger. And we go to the collision, and we're gonna give it a custom collision type. And it will let's ignore everything, and then overlap world static, world dynamic. So that'll be the static meshes that the level itself is made up of. So if the world static overlaps anything, then theoretically we should just destroy the actor no matter what, because it should only be able to see, like, walls. Oh, I think it's hitting itself, maybe? What is it hitting? Hold on. Let's do a print string and see what it is getting hit by. Okay, so the projectiles are hitting each other, which is not great. These don't have any collision, so I don't know why it's doing that. It should ignore pawn. Oh, it's because it's classified as a world dynamic. Oh, that would do it. No, it's doing it again. Okay, well, shit. So what if it just ignores everything? Okay. So what if it's world static only? Okay, that works. And then what if... No, but then it still goes through walls. I also don't have sight checks on enemies yet. It just occurred to me that I need to make them so they can't actually see shit. I thought it was desert. Well, it does look very deserty. But this is supposed to be beach-ish sand rather than desert sand. Blender loves randomly breaking. This is just a lot of the fundamental stuff. But the great thing about doing all this now is that I'm not gonna have to worry about fixing any of this later, because it's all the same stuff. And it's all based off of parent and child blueprint relationships. So if I gotta fix something with one enemy, it fixes that for all the enemies, which is amazing. Hey, Unsatisfied, hope you're doing well. Also hello to Jebediah Wins. Okay. What if we use CCD? Because it's moving kind of fast, and that's good for more speed-based collisions, for faster collisions. Now it's still shooting straight through walls. What if we just block world static and world dynamic? Huh? What about that? What about that, huh? No, it's the world dynamic part that doesn't seem to like doing what we want it to do. Dude, stop going through walls! How did I fix this before? I remember, this is exactly why I remember this being an annoying problem, is that it's just so janky. It's like weirdly complicated to get it to not just break when it hits a wall. It is not as intuitive as one might hope. Let's disable this briefly and then copy that code over here. And we'll just do a get component hit, because maybe hit is what we need instead of overlap. I'm gonna lose it. I remember this being such an annoying problem. Bam. Bam. Boom. Boom. Bam. Bap. See ya. Got him. Okay. That is annoying. That is strange. That is silly. I'm gonna definitely later have to pull up Void Collector original and just copy how I did it there, because that worked. That was a system that obviously worked. I don't remember how I did it, but I remember that I did it. Okay. So I'm trying to think what all still needs to be done, at least for the basics. I'll give you guys at least a rough timeline of what I'm thinking for now. Obviously subject to change. But I want to have the fundamentals of the game done by the end of the month. Comparing that to how I did things for original Void Collector, where I kind of just went with whatever I felt like doing at the time. I'm trying to have a bit more of a structured approach to development this time around. So first thing I'm doing is just all the bare bones essentials. So that's why we've got the options menu in. Got that pretty quick. We've got the title screen already. We've got, I'm working on a level start system, and I want to have that be a little bit more sophisticated than the other one. So you can see we've got, this sort of thing, so it can take you to levels and whatnot. I want to have a more refined save system with multiple save slots, as well as save files that would display, like, your current time, be a little bit more intelligent and efficient with how that goes. I want to have all of the weapons implemented. They can be, subject to change, but I want to have all of them coded before I start designing any stages, because I want to... one criticism that I think I really agreed with Void Collector 1 is that a lot of the stages didn't necessarily take advantage of your full arsenal. Like, it would let you use whatever you wanted, but there wasn't parts that would explicitly require or really benefit from using specific weapons. So having all of the weapons in right away will let me more specifically design stages to utilize that full arsenal and how they're intended to be used. So that's a big part of the reason why I want to have all of the fundamentals in first and foremost. So that's the first goal. And then after that, it's just going to be making a bunch of levels. As I said, the scale is intended to be smaller than previously, but individual stages might end up taking longer because I want to have stages that feel a bit more substantial, but then also a higher number of like mini stages, kind of like the arenas, but more focused on exploring unique, fun gimmicks. And I also have still not exactly figured out a great workflow for how I want to do the visual design of stages, because, everything is very cubey and blocky right now, as it was in the original, and that is just because of the method I'm using to make stages is called World Grid, good for building out levels and layouts. Still going to use it a lot for laying things out, but I think I want to take all of the meshes that I generate here and then take them into Blender for some cleanup, both to optimize the meshes, reduce unnecessary polygons, and also to give it some extra visual detail, maybe add some cool bits and bobs here. And I want to add more props, I want to make the environments more interesting, I want to have more interplay with cool lighting, I want to get the game to perform better, like run better. There's a lot of things that I want to do that are going to be kind of challenging, so it's hard to say exactly how long everything will take. So we'll see. But that's the gist. Make the projectile collision collide with the wall collision. Yeah, problem is I don't remember how I did that. All I know is that I did do that. Hold on, I'm gonna mute up for a second. So I can blow my nose. I muted the wrong thing. Alright, we good. What's happening with Parasite Agent? That is a good question. So, Parasite Agent's kind of in a complicated spot at the moment. I really like a lot of the ideas that project had, but the more I worked on it, the more I kind of had this feeling like it was missing a certain X factor. And I think that if I continued on just making it as normal and like released it, it would be a pretty fun end product. But I don't know if it would have the certain Seth spark. Like it needs to have some sort of fundamentally weird concept or something unusual or unique to it. And while it was kind of unique, I don't know if it had enough of a unique spark for it to be something that I was super passionate and excited about continuing to develop, which is kind of why there was a pretty long break for me, where I just was spending a lot of time doing development, but not a whole lot was getting done. I was struggling to keep my motivation up working on the Parasite Agent project. And I've already made a lot more progress and felt a lot more excited working about what lies below. So Parasite Agent, I don't think it's going to happen in the state that it was from that first devlog. I might even unlist it or something, just so people don't get the wrong idea. I'm not saying that it won't happen. I think a lot of the ideas from that project were good. I like a lot of the characters I came up with, a lot of the ideas and level design concepts I came up with. So it might be one of those projects that just kind of gets recycled into other things, or maybe I'll come back and revisit the project with like a twist on the concept that makes it feel unique enough, or exciting enough. But that's the general gist of what's happening with Parasite Agent. Don't expect it anytime soon. And if it does come back, it'll probably be in a different form. And the elements of it might be getting scrapped and pulled apart to be used in other things. But we'll see. I've not decided nothing concretely. Okay, but with all of that being said, we got the main goal for today done. And I've not streamed in like a month and a half, so my voice is not used to talking for so long uninterrupted. So I'm gonna go get some honey for my throat. That'll be nice. Just got some chores I got to take care of. But thank you very much for everybody who decided to tune in for the return to the development streams. We're gonna be doing these weekly. Also gonna be doing the videos weekly. Getting back to doing both of those things on a more frequent basis. I think my constant activity of like upload, waiting for a while, upload, waiting for a while, upload has kind of harmed the channel a bit. So I think also wanting to get the videos out every week will give me more of an incentive to try to get something substantial done every week that's interesting to showcase. So I think getting back into the swing of things with full weekly whatnots will, I think that'll be good for getting things going, get this train back a-rolling. But yeah, thanks for joining, everybody. Gonna do the thing I always do, where I keep talking. You're never gonna know exactly when the stream ends, but I'm gonna get cut off mid-sentence. You never know.